Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining us during the Lytham Partners Spring 2024 Investor Conference. My name is Adam Lowensteiner, Vice President of Lytham Partners. Before we begin, for those not familiar, Lytham Partners is one of the country's leading investor relations firms. With more than 2 decades of corporate access experience, we have built one of the industry's most diverse and effective platforms for connecting small-cap companies with high-quality and focused institutional investors while creating a framework of best practices in all aspects of investor relations. Today's discussion is hopefully yet another example where we can bring value to multiple constituents. Our next conversation comes with the Glimpse Group, ticker symbol of VRAR. That is Victor Robert, Adam Robert on NASDAQ. Presenting from the company today is its president and CEO, Lytham Ben-Tovim. Today, Lytham and I will engage in a fireside chat-like Q&A session. We will dive into the discussion in a moment, but one final item, I want to remind everyone that the Glimpse Group is available for one-on-one meetings. If you have not already signed up, please send me an email at lowensteiner@lythampartners.com or visit www.lythampartners.com/spring 2024. From there, you can click on the investor registration button and make your one-on-one selections. With that said, let me now turn today's discussion over with Lytham Ben-Tovim, President and CEO of the Glimpse Group. Hi, Lytham, and welcome.
Hello, Adam. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for taking the time to do this. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to it.
Great. So let's expand a bit on a few topics. Maybe to kick things off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got involved in the Glimpse Group?
Sure. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. Kind of Glimpse is my fourth, what I call real startup, which is companies that actually I paid other people to work for me in some way. So I have that on one end. On the other end, I've been involved in the public stock market for years. I've basically run a hedge fund for 8 years. I've managed multiple public companies, been on many public company boards. So I've been in the in the public markets, on one end as an executive, and manage other private technology companies, and I've been serial entrepreneurs. And the other thing that's important to know is that I grew up in the 80s and at the previous tech cycle, as I look at it. Mm-hmm. And in around 2015, I just finished a position I was working with, and I was looking at what's going on in the tech world, and I realized that we're at the beginning of a new tech cycle. And I wanted to find the right way to play that. And I co-founded Glimpse with the vision of basically becoming a premier player as this industry emerges.
So the Glimpse Group, it's an interesting company name. Can you share what the company does?
Sure. Yeah. So on the name, it was actually my daughter, who was in middle school at the time, came up with the name. When we founded the company, we were playing around with with names, and we were all pretty lame with VR this and and VR that. And she was sitting doing homework in my home office while I was working on that, and she was listening to the conversation. And instead of focusing on her homework, she actually was looking at names, and she came up with Glimpse, and everybody loved it. And the thought was definitely at the time when we started the company in 2016 to show people basically a glimpse of what's going to come and what's the technology that's going to drive us forward. And that was the reason behind the name. What we do at Glimpse is we're an enterprise-focused immersive technology company. So we've got multiple subsidiary companies focusing on different software solutions that are using virtual reality, augmented reality, AI, blockchain, integrating those solutions into things that address needs of organizations across the board, from government and defense to corporations, hospitals, universities, across our different use cases.
So you mentioned before a little bit about the tech cycle. Can you discuss a little bit how in the cycle we got to here where we are, and why immersive technologies are the next leg up in the technology cycle?
Sure. So if I go back to the previous tech cycle, and tech cycles, in my view, multiple technologies come together and move us as a society from one stable stage to another. So if you look at pre-1980, we lived in an analog world. Everything was analog. Three main technologies, and I'll use the human names for them, what we call them, which is internet, PC, and mobile, basically started coming to fruition in the early 80s. And then over 35 years, probably finishing that cycle around 2015, moved us from a digital world to an analog world, from an analog world to a digital world. So everything that we were doing pre-1980, we had to do in person. Even phone calls were kind of basically on an analog phone line and so on. Now we're doing everything digitally, kind of like we're kind of doing this conversation. In the past, we would meet in your office or my office, we'll bring a camera crew and they would kind of basically kind of film us if we wanted to do something like that, and then ship the tape to kind of everybody that wanted to watch it. Kind of that would be the only way to do what we're doing right now. And now I'm sitting in my home office, you're sitting kind of in your office, and we're having this conversation and everybody will be able to kind of watch it, but it will be on a 2D flat kind of screen. So all of our consumption is in 2D screens, kind of computer screens, TV screens, phone screens, tablet screens. That's how we're communicating with the world. What's going to happen right now, and that cycle started theoretically around 2015 when the other one ended, is we're going to move from a digital cycle to an immersive cycle. The three main technologies that are moving us there are immersive technology, which is VR and AR, AI, and blockchain. And they're going to move us from a world where we're interacting with digital content kind of as a flat content to being immersed in it. So kind of we would be sitting in a virtual room or any location we want to meet. We would be sitting there, and then the audience could actually come join us if they want, if it's a live thing, or they can come and sit and watch it as if they were in the audience if it was pre-recorded.
Gotcha. Who are some of your customers, and can you share some real life applications of your technologies?
Sure. So as I mentioned, kind of we have multiple subsidiary companies that are focusing on multiple areas of usage of the technology. So we've got a full diverse kind of group of customers across the use. So so we work obviously on with the government, and we just put a press release out, kind of a work that kind of is kind of pretty big, significant opportunity with the Department of Defense entity. So we work with the government. We also work with kind of civilian federal agencies of various sorted. We work with large corporations, both kind of technology companies, some as partners and some as kind of customers, but also kind of companies across the board in consumer goods, insurance, kind of financial services, and on and on. We work, education is an area that's close to our heart, so we work with leading universities as well as K-12 schools in a variety of public and private scenarios across the country. We work with hospitals across kind of a variety of use cases. So we've got the kind of very long list of customers that we've had over the 8+ years that we've been doing business. If we want to talk about some use cases, I'll stay away from kind of the big kind of big ones and just focus on some ones that are close to my heart. For example, we're using kind of our subsidiary Fortel has a multi-person solution that allows kind of multiple people to participate in virtual reality from wherever they are and meet together for support groups. And we've been working for many years kind of with leading hospitals. We've worked with Yale New Haven. We work with Sick Kids in Canada to allow kids that are basically recovering from cancer to use basically the solution for support groups. And kind of obviously kind of kids going through that motion, first of all, coming back to do the support group at the hospital, in addition to being kind of mentally hard on them after just getting out of there. It's hard on their parents who have been kind of basically moving them around kind of and driving in. And obviously those kids also have a challenge with how they look post-treatment with kind of hair loss and other issues. And we found this to be super moving, how they go in, they interact with each other, they make friends, they kind of go through the sessions, all in virtual reality, all in their bedroom. They can kind of build their avatar to look the way they want to be, regardless of how they are in the real world. And kind of those are the things that really kind of make me feel good about it. Kind of so that's just one use case. Kind of if you kind of want to look at kind of more commercial use cases, looking at marketing as an example. You are Bell Helicopters and you want to basically showcase a new helicopter in a big showcase. So obviously kind of historically, you would just bring the helicopter there and kind of figure out, probably spend $1 million of figuring out how to get it into the place, but kind of even people can see it, they can't fly it. Obviously it's sitting in the show floor.
Right.
You can create a virtual experience where people can actually take the helicopter for a ride and kind of really see that, and kind of that kind of one of our companies, Sector 5 Digital, does things like that. So basically kind of creates immersive experiences for corporations that want to kind of showcase their solutions and capabilities to their customers, investors, users, whatever the situation is. So those are kind of a couple of diverse examples, and there's a lot more kind of, if you want, we can dig into those, but I'm sure we want to cover a lot of other things.
Sounds good. I mean, it sounds like also there's an angle maybe on telehealth applications. Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility, and we've engaged with kind of some kind of practitioners on doing that. Kind of right now in healthcare, it's used more for training. We've got a solution that basically trains kind of anywhere from nurses that are fully qualified and retrains them, all the way to high schoolers that are interested in medical profession and want to kind of basically get a first try at kind of learning into that. And we're actually kind of taking this solution into high schools. In terms of telehealth, obviously there's issues with terms of kind of who sees whom, right? Kind of, so I can stream 180 or 360 video into a VR session. So if you're the doctor and I'm the patient, are you on video and I see you as the doctor and I'm in VR? Am I in VR? Are we both in VR in terms of headset? Because if I wear my headset, you'd probably kind of be weird to have a video conversation. And if I don't wear my headset, then I'm just seeing you on the screen. So that's like what you do in telehealth in 2D. Kind of, we can go into a virtual office for the doctor and meet there both as avatars, but then you can't really check me because I'm an avatar. So you have to figure out who's doing what to whom. But we've been kind of messing around with some of that and trying to see how this will evolve as telehealth evolves. Got it.
So the company has partnerships with NVIDIA and Microsoft. Can you discuss the nature of those relationships?
Sure. So we have really kind of strong relationships with both NVIDIA and Microsoft, and kind of the main reason for that is they've built, especially over the last few years, a pretty impressive technology stack of capabilities. And NVIDIA is a great kind of story because they started as a hardware company and kind of basically took their hardware capabilities to really show what could be done with it and build a pretty amazing technology stack that sits on top of that. But they're not a business that basically, so their technology can do everything. And they're behind where everything that's happening right now with AI is because they've taken the compute level at the GPU level to a new level that allows all that to happen. But when an organization, kind of say, kind of a federal agency, wants to utilize this technology to address a problem they have, NVIDIA is basically kind of, this is what we have, this is the solution, go use it. They don't have anyone that will be able to basically understand what the challenge that the customer is looking for and utilize NVIDIA's technologies to address that. And that's where we fit in as a kind of, in a sense, a middleware between the technology stack of NVIDIA and what the customer needs to do with it. And we will create the capabilities that will constantly update as the capabilities of NVIDIA continue to grow to address what the customer wants to do with that scenario.
How proprietary are your technologies, and can you describe a little bit what the competitive landscape looks like?
Sure. So each one of our kind of, so if you look at kind of our companies, they all have different sets of proprietariness to their technology. We've got 10 patents that we've received. We've got kind of additional kind of multiple patents that are in the process. So there's proprietariness and support around some of our core technology. At the end of the day, kind of the things that we do, other people can do it in a different way, kind of, which is how the market evolves as a whole. We have kind of uniqueness in a lot of ways in each one of our subsidiaries in the specialization of what we are doing. So kind of the way kind of Brightline, our subsidiary that works with kind of spatial computing, kind of basically does, and their partnership with NVIDIA and Microsoft, very, very unique. And we are basically the only partner that does what we're doing with them in the way we're doing it. Or, for example, our subsidiary Curial, which does lifelike 3D models, we're kind of one of the best in the world, and we've got a lot of technology and experience. I've been doing it for 7+ years, and that gives us the edge as we go to customers. There are other people doing 3D models. We're not the only ones doing it, but each one of our companies has a very unique secret sauce that's behind their software solutions.
So, can you elaborate a little bit? We discussed a little bit about this, some of the verticals you're involved in, but maybe can you elaborate, what some of the verticals that you are involved in and maybe some of the more popular ones, and how's the visibility, is it strong for the foreseeable future?
Sure. Two different questions. I'll take the first one and then remind me to get back to the second one.
Okay.
So if you look at kind of how immersive technology can be utilized, I put it in four big buckets. So rather than to kind of look at industries, it's kind of more about what you do with it. And so the first bucket, which is one that has been the main one for us over the years until the last year when we've really transitioned kind of a lot of our business away from that. And it's been the driver for the industry is marketing, because that's where money is. And that's where there is easy transition for marketing budgets to move from basically old school ads or digital ads to utilizing immersive technology. So we gave the example earlier of the conference, another example and kind of a key partnership we have with Snap, where we do a lot of their super high-end AR lenses. Our company Curial does that. And so companies would go to Snap, they want to basically engage with kind of the younger demographic, and they would basically create a kind of specialized lens that usually has an experiential element into it. And our team would work to build that experience for Snap and for that end customer. So marketing is one bucket. That's the historical base of where the industry started. The next bucket that's super critical is learning. And learning could be anywhere from obviously K-12 and college and university learning to corporate training, both hard skills as well as leadership and small and soft skills, and then kind of obviously professional training for kind of nurses, doctors, and kind of other professions that require that. So that's a bucket where we've got a lot of solutions and we've been working on, and it's an area that's growing pretty significantly across the board. The next one, which is really coming into play right now, is visualization. So immersive technologies allows you to see things that are either do not exist or you have no access to them, and those could be kind of products either that you're building or you're doing, or to see kind of a building before it's been built, or see an apartment. But now it's kind of moving to the next level by kind of utilizing digital twins. So the ability to build environments kind of from all sort of data sources and be able to bring them to life, and allows you to run simulations in them, to be trained in them, to command and control them. And a lot of that's kind of basically the heart of a lot of the stuff we're doing kind of recently with with the Department of Defense, is kind of basically bringing all this information and creating environments that are kind of basically digital twins of kind of certain areas, and then allowing them to perform things in them. And the last bucket, which is kind of basically obviously had its hype cycle, is like metaverse, which is basically kind of, obviously the metaverse does not exist and will take a few more years to be built, but it's the idea of multiple people being in the same space doing something together. Could be attending a class, could be the support groups we talked about earlier, could be doing a meeting, and a variety of other things that people can do together. Eventually that will evolve into kind of v-commerce for shopping and travel and entertainment and a variety of other things in that space. So all those are the four buckets across the board that you can kind of basically do things with immersive technologies, and our companies are participating in all four of these.
And the second part of the question was, how's the visibility? I guess you did mention a little bit about each of these buckets and like where they're at in the cycle, but
yeah,
I'm assuming it's
so
very strong for the foreseeable future.
Yes, no, we're just at the beginning. Kind of,
Okay.
if you look at kind of the equivalent, going back, we talked about the cycles. We're probably year 9 of this tech cycle out of 35 years. So if you go back, this is late 80s, early 90s in the previous cycle. So the fun part is coming, and it's a few years out, but kind of the industry is growing. Kind of companies initially were trying out, not companies, organizations, everybody was trying out what could be done. Now companies understand what they want to do, and they're looking for partners to help them kind of really kind of build that long-term kind of edge for themselves and how they're going to be playing in this space.
So that leads into my next question. What's the selling cycle like for your company? What's the sales team look like, and how do you find new customers, or do they find you?
Most times they actually find us, shockingly enough. Kind of, we've built a pretty good reputation, and we're getting a lot of our business from people that see what we've done with others in their space and come and say, oh, I want to do this, but I want a variation of that. Partner kind of selling is also helpful, and kind of we talked about companies like NVIDIA and Microsoft, and they understand what we can do with their technology, and they're helping us kind of open opportunities that are relevant. If you look at the kind of the core sales cycle, kind of each one of our teams has a dedicated kind of group that basically goes and promotes what they're doing in a variety of different ways. Because of where we are in the economy cycle, kind of it's not short sales cycles. They're probably 6 to 9 months of kind of engagement with the customer before you get to the contracting scale. But that actually kind of creates visibility, because you see a lot of things as they're progressing, and you have good visibility into where they're coming in.
So the company has been growing very rapidly over the last few years. I think you grew from 1.95 million in revenue in fiscal 2020 to 13.5 million in 2023. Can the company sustain these levels of growth rates, and if so, why?
So obviously the growth rate has kind of multiple elements. There's an organic element and an inorganic element. So we've focused the last few years on just organic growth, and kind of the way we look at it, kind of as you grow within a customer and within an opportunity, that's how you sustain kind of very high growth rates. So if you look at kind of the opportunity we announced yesterday, kind of it's a $4 million opportunity, but that's a $4 million in a sense proof of concept, which doesn't sound like a proof of concept for a $4 million 1-year contract. But that contract by itself can probably open multiples of that just with just one arm of the Department of Defense group that we're doing, and then you can expand from there. So we're targeting opportunities that can then kind of multiply kind of 10 times and 20 times as you're executing on them, which is a totally different sales cycle than finding a new customer and trying to sell them something new. This is basically growing from within. And many of the opportunities that are the leading opportunities in our pipeline right now are such where we can grow within that organization pretty significantly. And that's kind of that's the secret to growth.
So how should investors think about how large your business can really get, and how do you get there?
So if you look at kind of where we are in the cycle, we just touched on that. We're so early that kind of I think the industry will grow probably 100 times over the next 10 years. And I'm serious. That's a crazy number. That's an industry, it's not limbs. But if we keep our part in it, we should grow at least at industry rate and not more. And that's kind of that's the key. The company kind of we built this company to be one of the leaders in the space. We're one of the largest companies in the space. We're definitely the most diversified company in the software, kind of enterprise software in the immersive world. And that kind of the ability for us to continue to grow with the industry at a faster pace than the industry, which we've done historically, will basically move us from a company that's generating double-digit millions of sales to a company that's doing 4 digits of millions of sales and more. Yes, I know it sounds kind of crazy when you look at a kind of small microcap stock, but that's the power of being there, being early, establishing yourself as a leader, and then expanding that as the industry grows.
So can you discuss some financial highlights investors should be on the lookout for? Also, if you could discuss the company's capital structure at a high level and your plans to improve it over time, especially with positive cash flow and profitability with insights.
So kind of, I'll start with the second half. So we have a very, very clean capital structure. We only have basically common shares, kind of a few warrants kind of that are not significant that are basically kind of at prices that are higher than where the stock is right now, and kind of basically came from the kind of the IPO we did and kind of in a capital raise that we have. And but those are kind of very non-dilutive kind of so I'd love to get the cash from those warrants right now at the prices that they're at. And apart from that, we have basically kind of very, very clean capital structure, and we intend to keep it that way. That's kind of our commitment kind of is to make sure that this company is operating on behalf of shareholders. I'm still the largest shareholder, and we have a strong ownership for insiders. Since we grew some of the company by adding companies in the space, there's a lot kind of, it's not just one person or a couple of people that own the company. There's a lot. The insider group is a pretty large group of people that are all committed and dedicated to the success of the company. And as we grow, we're continuing kind of, we want to continue to grow and operate as a profitable company, which is kind of a rarity in the space. Kind of most of the companies in our space are venture backed, they raise capital and go burn it. We try and do things differently, and we think we're now positioned kind of, and I've mentioned that in the call kind of this week, to achieve cash flow profitability within kind of the next few months, and then continue to sustain that going forward. So kind of taking the business, running it as a real business, investing some of the profits in development, which is a key element, but continuing to run that in that direction.
And you know, you mentioned about the call this week, you know, Q1 and or is it Q3, I think, and sorry, and you know, if you announce contracts, you know, in as well, you know, are there other similar contracts or other financial highlights, you know, that investors should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, no, so as I mentioned on the call, we have in a relatively close pipeline of opportunities for Spatial Core. So that's on top of the regular pipeline of opportunities for all of our other kind of subsidiaries, in the $8 to $12 million that we expect many of these to be signed over the next 6 months. And that's the kind of that's where investors should be looking at. We will kind of obviously update when we can about progress with these. And but that's a key driver, because if we can sign these contracts, then we've already taken the company to the next level, and now we can lever that for even more success.
But the pipeline is bigger than that. Is that correct?
Yes. Oh, yeah. The pipeline is way bigger than that. Those are just kind of very sizable opportunities for one specific technology that we have.
Okay. Thank you. Well, this has been great, Liron. Anything else you want to add before we conclude the discussion?
No, this is a great great discussions, kind of great set of questions. I think people need to kind of basically understand kind of, if they believe that we are kind of going to have this immersive cycle and they want to invest in that cycle, we're a very unique investment for them, a way of getting ahead of the game and owning things before kind of that cycle gets to mass adoption, which we're probably 5-7 years away. You want to own a piece of that, and that's why kind of I brought Glimpse public, to be public when that happens, because I've learned what happened kind of when the world sees that this is suddenly happening and everybody's running to the doors. Kind of, we want to be the door people open.
Very good. Thank you very much, Liron. We appreciate your time today, and greatly appreciate you doing this. To anyone out there, sure. To anyone out there that has not already signed up for a one-on-one, again, please send me an email at lowensteiner@lythampartners.com, or again, visit lythampartners.com/spring 2024 and click the investor registration button. Thank you again, Liron, and we hope you all enjoy the rest of the conference.